All right, today what we are going to be doing, I'm going to review lesson 2.1, the warm-up in the beginning of lesson 2.1. We're going to be looking at the warm-up section right here. It says determine the additive inverse for each expression. As we talked about in class, the inverse is the opposite of a positive, which as we've talked about was a negative. So number one, we would just have to write -4 as our answer. You need to make sure you're writing this down because you will submit this, and this is what the grade I will be giving you on for work completion as well as work habit score. If we look at number 2, the inverse of positive x would be -x. Number 3, inverse of 20x would be the opposite, which is -20x. -9x, the inverse will be +9x because inverse is the opposite, which is a negative to positive, positive to negative. And last but not least in the warm-up, number 5, 78.5x. The inverse, which is the opposite, would be -78.5x. Once again, make sure you have these 5 here that I am putting a star by completed, as well as the rest of this packet in order to get a grade. Next, we are going to look at the warm-up because 2.1 deals with the warm-up. So we're looking at this. They are talking about Comic Con line. There are a total of 324 people. I'm going to underline this. This is standard 1.1, so being able to annotate, doing this, underlining or highlighting is key. So there's 324 people who joined the Comic Gurus group on a social media site. Female group members outnumber the males by 34. So here's another key. Females, I would underline female group, outnumber males by 34. That's annotating. So use reasoning to determine the number of males and females who join the Gurus Club. So we look at this, and we know there's 324 people, and we know that there are 2 groups, males and females. So we can divide this by 2, which ends up coming out to be, let me grab my handy dandy calculator just to make sure I give you guys the right answer. 324 divided by 2 gives us 162 for each group. Okay? Now, that's if it's even. As we said, we know the females outnumber males by 34. So we're going to put this as an F, this as an M for male, female. We cannot say, okay, let's add 34 here and call it a day, because that means there are over 324 people then. Once again, we know there's 2 groups, so we can take 34 and divide that by 2, which leaves us with 17. Now, that's the half of the 34. Now we have to add 17 to the females, so the females will end up going to 179 after you add 17 to 162, and the males, you end up subtracting because there's fewer. 17, as we said, is 34, so that leaves the males with 145 members. There's your answer. Make sure you show your work what's written over here. So even adding in 162 plus 17 and 162 minus 17. This is showing your work. Now, it asks you, how can you check that your solution is correct? You can sit here couple different ways. We can take these 2 numbers right here, 179 plus 145, and see what it equals up. We add this up. 9 plus 5 gives you 14. Carry a 1. 7 plus 4 gives you 11. Add the 1 is a 2. Carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 gives you 3. This equals that. You are good. That's one way to check. Now, let's check and see. If we take 179 minus 145, let's see if we come up with this number here of 34, being the difference. 9 minus 5 gives you 4. 7 minus 4 gives you 3. 1 minus 1 gives you 0, which is 34. So this works. That's a way to check your work, so you know that this problem works that way. Now, as I said, I'm going through lesson 2.1 as well with this. So the next 2 pages, you need to be writing down and following along with what we are doing. So 2.1, it says, consider the scenario from getting started. Let's explore an algebraic strategy to determine a solution. So it says, write the system that represents the problem situation. Use X. Once again, we are annotating. Use X, to represent females. And use Y to represent male members. Okay? Write the equations in standard form. Okay? So now, for this one, what you will end up having to do, we're going to write 2 equations for this problem because we have to have it be 324 as well as 34. Okay? So something plus something, something minus something equals these. As we used before, we can look at this problem, and if you notice, we added right here the males and females together. So as we looked at the annotation, we know the female members is represented by an X. So we can do an X. This top 324, we know the males plus the female numbers give us what we want. So X plus Y equals 324. We also know how to find out how to get 34 by doing what we did up in the top here, where we do X minus Y. That's writing it in standard form right there. That is how you solve problem 1, is just like that alone. Pretty simple if you're following along. Now, Chloe and Mara use different strategies to solve the system of equations in a similar way. Analyze each student's reasoning. This is where it gets a little more complicated. For those who were in class the other day, we talked about this and went over it. So I will go over it again, and then we will go with the last few problems. So Chloe, I can use a substitution method to solve the equation. So she substitutes here. So we have the 2 problems. I'm going to zoom in so you can see just hers to this problem. You have X plus Y equals 324 is the first problem she's going to use. So what she ends up doing, she uses a second problem, which is right underneath it, the X minus Y equals 34, and turns it to be X equals, so she moves the Y over to the other side. So if you notice, she moves it, adds the Y to each side to come up with it looking like this. Next, she substitutes, so she takes what's here in the red box, and just this, and substitutes it in for X like this. So instead of having X plus Y, it is now Y plus 34 plus Y, which is right there. A little confusing, but going through it's not too bad. Equals 324. She now adds like terms, which is the Y plus Y, gives you 2Y plus 34. She subtracts 34 on each side, leaves you with 2Y equals 290. She next divides by 2 on each side, which gives you 145. Next, she takes the Y equals 145, which is in this problem back up in the front, puts Y is equal to 145, which moves right here, plus 34, because we know that there's 34 more females than males, and gets the X equals 179. Same way to solve, just a little more complicated. Now, we use Mara's strategy of elimination. This whole chapter is going to be about elimination. So we're going to be eliminating things. So Mara sits here as X plus Y in the red box equals 324 plus, I'm going to change this here so you see it into dark green, plus X minus Y equals 34, and adds them straight down. So X plus X gives us 2X. Y minus Y gives us 0Y, so there's no answer, or no Y on that. 324 plus 34 gives us 358. So 2X equals 358. She divides that by 2 on each side and gives us as X equals 179. Now, she subbed 179 in for the X value, moved that by subtracting 179 on each side to get Y equals 145. This is a little simpler solving problem, okay? If you prefer, you may do the top problem to solve work that way or by the bottom. It does not matter, which way you would like to do. Now they're asking us to explain why each student is correct. So each student is correct. So I'm going to put a C for Chloe and an M for Mara. Chloe is correct because she used, so I'm going to write she used substitution to find the variable. And I'm going to say for Mara, she used elimination to find the variable. So either way works. They're both correct, just different ways to solve it. And that's the key with math. It's not only one way only. There are a few multiple ways to solve things. So let's take a look at 3. It says, examine the structure of the system. What characteristics of the system make Mara's strategy efficient? So if we look at Mara is this bottom one, the elimination one. So we can say both formulas are in standard form and the coefficients that are additives or that are additive inverses. So meaning that the y, we have a positive y and a negative y on top and bottom. So it was doing the opposite to eliminate that. That is where the key word is elimination, is because this, if you're looking at the top formula again by Mara, you have plus y minus y. They eliminate each other from that possible answer. Identify the solution, number 4, to the linear system as an ordered pair, then interpret the solution in terms of the problem situation. That one, we've pretty much answered this multiple times. So it says the solution to the linear system is, we write this in like we would graphing, 179 because we said the females are as x and the males are as y, which is 145. So you would have to write them like this. That's how we would graph that on a graph. You have the x, then the y. And then we just know that these are females and these are males. Now, this is our last one we're going to do for today. So make sure, once again, you have this written down, rewatch the video, write these down, make sure you have it, because I will make sure you get a grade for it. It's a work habits grade. So it says the algebraic method used by Mara to solve the linear system is called the linear combination method. The linear combinations method is a process used to solve a system of equations by adding 2 equations together, resulting in an equation with one variable. You can then determine the value of that variable and use it to determine the value of the other variable. So we look at number 5A right now, because I'm going to leave 5A for you guys to do on your own. So this is where you're going to get credit for it. I will do 5B myself right now to make it a little easier for you guys. Okay, so we're going to do 5B together. 5A, you will be responsible to do it, so do not blow this off. Please do this. So if we look at right now B, we can tell by looking at it that x is an additive inverse. We have negative 1/2 x and a positive 1/2 x at the bottom. So we know that this is going to cancel each other out. Okay, now we add the y's together. So we will have 6y equals negative 12. Okay, now to solve that, you have to divide by 6 on each side. Y then should equal negative 2, because a positive and a negative always comes to be a negative. So we could automatically get our parentheses set up like this and know to put negative 2 as our y. If we know negative 2 is y, we'll look at the top one. we'll substitute that in. So negative 1/2 x plus 5 times negative 2 equals negative 6. We know 5 times 2 gives us negative 10. Put equals negative 6 here, plus negative 1/2 x. We add, oh, sorry, I should not say plus. I should just leave that as minus 10. We add 10 on each side. Negative 1/2 x equals 10 plus negative 6 plus 10 leaves us with negative 4. Divide this on each side by negative 1/2. And once again, using my handy dandy calculator that you guys have on your app on your iPad, so you should be able to do this. If I take negative 0.5 divided by, I'm sorry, not negative 0.5. If I take negative 4 divided by 0.5, negative 0.5, I am left with x equals 8. So my answer here will look like this up in the top corner. Oh, I'm sorry, pulling the calendar up by mistake. My answer for B is right there. Okay, make sure you have that written down, and you have to do A. I will tell you right now, you may look and see that the additive inverse, I'll even help you in that part, and then you have to do the rest, is right here. X and Y will eliminate. Make sure you do this for your today's assignment. Tomorrow I will post the next assignment. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to email me, and I will respond as soon as I can. Good luck, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.